Seeking, one of the 7 emotional systems that are living in your unconscious brain, that is linked to curiosity, exploration, discovery. It can be in balance, of course, but it can be sometimes underactive or overactive. I'm going to give you an examples of each because both are actually quite common in the modern world, especially, and I'm going to give you a solution, some protocols that you can start using straight away to activate your seeking curiosity center in your brain, or to slightly slow it down if it is overactive. So let's maybe start with the explanation of what is the seeking system. So seeking emotional system is one of the 7 emotional systems that, according to the neuroscientist Jack Panksepp, and according to neuroscience, to the latest neuroscience, are living in our unconscious brain. On top of that, we've got 6 more. About all of them, you can learn from my other videos. So I would direct you to these so you can explore more. But the major purpose of having a seeking emotional circuit is for you to have a very healthy relationship with your own curiosity, with your own I would say drive and passion for learning, for novelty, but healthy. And unfortunately, what is happening nowadays, because we've got so much stimulation, from technology and from life and otherwise, those systems can be imbalanced. They can be, of course, linked to some prolonged periods of stress. They can be linked to trauma. So this underactivation and overactivation, for example, I saw in a lot of my clients when I am working with people who had some trauma history. Sometimes the seeking emotional system will be hugely underactive and sometimes will be overactive, and people will have almost like those waves of being very curious, seeking novelty all the time, and then they burn out and they crash, and then they don't feel motivation at all. And that is also linked to the nervous system. But of course, as we know, nervous system is deeply linked to the unconscious brain, which then of course makes sense. So the seeking emotional systems is closely linked with dopamine. However, not the dopamine of reward, so not the conventional understanding of dopamine, but seeking emotional system is rather connected to the anticipation before the reward. So it is, and it is actually really important distinction, because this is healthy. This is, the seeking is more about a healthy pursuit of something. So let's say you're genuinely interested in something and you are pursuing that. You're learning maybe a new language, or you're learning a new skill, how to cook, or whatever it is that you want to learn. That is a healthy pursuit. And of course, as well, as you probably know about the Carol Dweck's idea of the growth mindset, seeking emotional system is definitely linked to the growth mindset. Basically, when your seeking emotional system is healthy, is allowing you to grow. But when we're growing, of course we will make mistakes, of course we will commit some errors. So, but the healthy emotional system will be more like driven towards curiosity rather than a threat. So we'll be thinking like, you wouldn't be then, let's say, interpreting that anticipation and that curiosity as a threat. So it's like, oh my God, what's gonna happen if I fail? Your conscious mind's gonna be like, okay, what can I learn? What can I learn here? Like, okay, I can make errors. It's normal. It's like, that's part of the learning. That's part of the growth. So this is seeking. This is healthy seeking. Healthy seeking allows you to grow and allows you to seek growth, to seek exploration, to seek curiosity, to be driven by possibility, to be driven by novelty. So what is actually happening when the seeking is underactivating, and what you can do about it? So when seeking is underactivated, it sounds like, it's like nothing excites me. It's almost like that meh, like, that feeling of meh, don't want to do anything. And I hear that, quite a lot in, like I said, quite a few of my clients who had some trauma history, but not only, feeling that flat, feeling like that you don't have motivation, like you don't want to really get out of the bed. And that is not, laziness or necessarily procrastination. Although, of course, people can label, they can label their own afflictions in multiple ways. So, you use the words that you want to use. I am using the language of neuroscience because that is the language that I am choosing to refer to again and again as something that I believe is just bringing some balance and health into the whole mental health discussion and therapeutic industry. So basically, your nervous system is not generating enough curiosity. So your nervous system and your unconscious brain is kind of prioritizing surviving, prioritizing threat, prioritizing dealing with stress, and of course, that has an impact on your life because we have this emotional system in our brain to explore, to discover, to be driven by novelty. And if we're not using that in a balanced, healthy way, that is almost like we are taking part of our humanity away from ourselves. So, if you spend, let's say, a lot of years when you had been in survival because of trauma, when you had been, driven by fear and shame and, hypervigilance, then there will be simply not enough energy that will be left for exploration and for the seeking emotional system. So, because you need energy to do that. And if your energy is consumed by survival, then obviously you won't be able to do some healthy seeking. So how to work with that? So I don't want any of you to force any motivation or to force curiosity or discovery, like, I gotta do this. I want you to really think about, okay, when was the last time that I was actually doing something and I felt slightly excited? Or what was interesting for you, or what was enjoyable when you were little, or any time in the past that you remember that you kept on researching the topic, or you lost the track of time, or something that really interested you. So write it all down. Because this is actually really important, because you're gathering data. So think about the topics that you're naturally interested in, you're naturally researching. Think about, the time that you're losing the track of time, and think about those moments in your childhood or adolescence or, in your adult life when you literally were immersed in doing something and you really enjoyed it. So, and then start small. And this is really important. This is crucial. I don't want you to set up 20-step plan for that. No, start small and think about, okay, so let's say maybe you were always interested in cooking. I'm not sure cooking comes up today as an example. I don't know. So think about, okay, maybe I can cook like some unfamiliar recipe from scratch. Something, maybe the cuisine that you haven't tried before. So, or maybe you can listen or read a book that is really outside of your usual interest. Or you can maybe talk to someone new, even if it's like someone that doesn't have to be necessarily even your a good friend, but someone, I don't know, a colleague from work or a person that you haven't spoken before. So that is gently kind of knocking on the door of the novelty. So notice when your body is starting to responding to that, how your body is responding to that. Journal about it. Journal what activities are now bringing your seeking back online, and stick with them, and you will notice after a month of doing that every single day, to creating, let's say, one novelty spark throughout the day, you will notice that something must move. So that is the protocol for underactive seeking emotional system. But what is actually happening when it is overactive? Overactive is the opposite, and it is very common nowadays. So it is basically you chasing idea, chasing projects, it's almost like you're addicted to possibility, you're addicted to novelty, and everything feels exciting, but actually nothing ever, you never really taste any fruit out of all those new things that you started. So new relationships, new businesses, new courses, new books, new podcasts, the list is endless. But seeking is almost like drives the excitement, but the completion, so completing that business idea, completing that project, completing I don't know, that new hobby, or keeping that new hobby going, that's a completely different system. It requires you to appreciate the novelty and that dopamine hit of the pursuit, but you need to almost like stop chasing that novelty at some point, and you have to start to build depth. And this is really important. And this is where the regulation really of the nervous system comes in, because when you are working with that overactive seeking, you have to really bring in way more regulation of the nervous system and work with your nervous system to and with your conscious mind, the direction of your conscious mind, because of course it is your conscious mind that is constantly looking for something, to fill in, whatever it is that you are seeking in that constant seeking in a way. So I want you to start noticing, so that is the protocol for overactive seeking. The first thing is to really start becoming a very objective observer of yourself and think about, okay, what is actually happening when I am chasing that stimulation instead of meaning? Like, what is going on for me? What is going on in the body, and what is my mind interpreting that, let's say, arousal or activation in my body? And also, what is the trigger? What is triggering that? Are those the moments of boredom? Are those the moments of maybe that you feel like something should have happened, the moments maybe of some uncomfortable silence, whatever that is? I want you to pause then. So start really writing down, start thinking about okay, when was the last time that I was doing all those the new projects, what was the trigger? What was actually happening beneath the surface? What was driving the whole idea of that new project? Write it down for you, almost step by step. And I want you to start pausing every time you start getting those new ideas. And I want you to focus on one. Yeah. So think about, out of all those ideas that your conscious mind have generated, it is really important that you're just gonna choose one and finish it off. So you understand how completion feels in your nervous system and how completion feels for your conscious mind. It might be really difficult for some of you, but that is the way out. And then I want you to think about increasing the parasympathetic activity. So long walks, gentle movements, time in nature, quiet mornings, social time. This is really important. So the final reflection is basically for you to develop the healthy relationship with your seeking. And it is about remaining curious about yourself, about life, about other people. And I trust that that was helpful for you. I trust that that will allow you to either underactivate or not underactivate, to bring your seeking emotional system to the balance. And if you of course need some help with that, you can book a session with me. You can also check my Patreon account. There are different types of memberships there. And otherwise, I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye bye.